Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series of Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Neo-Humanity. Now spawning here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the blue Protoss probes from the United States, we're looking inside of the main base of Astrea. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Zerg pieces, he's from South Korea. He's one of my personal favorite players to watch, and he goes by the name of Dark. Alrighty, so Dark versus Astrea in a best of 3. Both of these guys have been casting on quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. Okay, we're just gonna go straight for the okay, I was gonna say. So, Dark's been doing some funky things in this matchup, man. Especially on this map. Remember when Neo-Humanity was first introduced and he would literally take his very first expansion over here at what is considered to be the opponent's third base? He would mine out these couple of mineral fields. I've seen him do this exact build. I think this is the third time right now. This seems to be his new go-to strategy. And every single time I've seen him play this strategy so far, he's been going for a Roach Ravager Ling Flood. Now, does Astrea know that this is one of the builds that Dark has been going for lately? This particular series is from the ESL Open Cup number 177 for the North American region. Obviously, this just determines what games or what server rather the games are going to be played on. So yeah, probably not the best time of the day for Dark to be playing. Interestingly enough, by the way, I've been casting a lot of Dark. This sort of started, I mean, I've been casting Dark for for many years right now, but I've been casting him especially since PM CET, and I've been thinking about as to why that is. Well, first off, the man plays some really fun StarCraft, so, you know, some of the most fun SC2 that you can watch right now. Very aggressive, just in general though, just, yeah, a little bit different, right, than the established standard. But he also mentioned at the StarCraft 2 World Championships that he was gonna have to start up his mandatory military service in the near future. And he said that even PM CET, which was back in February, could be his final tournament that he's playing. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, you know, if that's the case, I gotta get my Dark fix in as soon as possible. But the man is still signing up for basically every tournament under the sun. I don't know if he figured out a way to like delay it, or I don't know what's going on in that department. Anyhow, we've got ourselves Zergling speed coming up, and Dark actually pulled out of gas. Okay. So well, unless he wants to go for a Link Flood, I don't think this is gonna be an all-in. No, okay, instead he's gonna use the first couple of links here. Well, actually, I think this is the second pair of Zerglings. The first ones went across the map. He's using them to nibble down these cooling towers here in the middle of the map, which will collapse right over here in the middle of this slow zone, at which point the only way to come across are gonna be, well, past these, I guess we can call them top lanes and bottom lanes. If you take control of the watchtowers, other than flying units that can fly through the center, you should be able to see basically anything, which is kind of cool. So obviously this is going to give him access to the very quick, rich Vespene geyser over here. In the meantime, by the way, what is going on the other side of the map? I thought Dark was the one going for a bit of a feisty strategy, but it turns out that Astrea is actually going for a 3-minute and what, 15 seconds Robo Bay? Okay, you know what? There is a chance that Astrea knows. I think that's probably what's happening here. There's a chance that Astrea knows that Dark has been playing a lot of very aggressive builds, especially when he goes for the third base first. So he's decided to go straight into our Robotics Bay here to get those Disruptors going. I mean, he can also just open up with that's a second Robo facility. What in the world? What are we gonna make? I'm assuming it's a Disruptor drop. That's the only thing that makes sense. Yeah, okay. But why the second Robo facility already? Like, the man literally has as many Robo facilities as he's got gateways, which is really strange. Roachworn's gonna finish up here. Natural expansion eventually taken as well for Dark. He's really gonna wanna, yeah, connect these bases with Creep here eventually, because I'm a little bit afraid about this, but anyways, we do have the very first units loaded up into the Prism. Astrea is ready to go for wave number 1. There's gonna be a lot of Disruptors, by the way. The problem with 2 Robo facilities is that he's gonna be able to produce more Disruptors than he can actually hold in the Prism. Like, a Prism can only hold 2 of them. So either he's gonna go double Prism Disruptor drop, which is really weird, or he's gonna go Immortals? Colossi? Mass Observer? I mean, there are options out there. No, there's a second Prism coming. So he's going double Prism drops. In theory, a great idea. In execution, I see this go terribly most of the time. Observer will be sniped here, it seems, or at the very least, it's going to be forced to reposition. Pro gamers, believe it or not, also only have access to one monitor. They don't have any foot pedals or anything like that to control their stuff a little bit easier. So, yeah, we're going to go for a double Disruptor drop. That is going to be pretty wild. This is the Prism speed improvement, by the way. So that's the upgrade you can see researching right there on the Robo Bay. So we're going to get speed Prisms with 2 Disruptors in them each. Obviously, there's no third base or anything along those lines. Dark has been checking for that as well. He's seen it. 5 minutes is usually the absolute latest that we see a third base going down. The adepts from earlier, though, that were hiding over at what is normally the third base for the Zerg, maybe the fourth, they apparently have decided to shade in right now. This should be the moment where the very first... Okay, yeah, no, the very first Purification Novas are going to be used on the other side of the map. Apparently, they have to be used defensively. He decides to recall the second, or I guess the first Prism here too. Not really what you expect right now as the Zerg. The pickup potential here is massive, but the question is, what in the world do you do against Zerglings? Well, apparently what you do is you start up double Colossus as well. You can juggle Colossi and Disruptors at the same time, but again... Your limitation is just how good you are at the game. It is very easy to mess this up. Apparently, the Disruptors themselves are going to be part of the wall-off here. And what started off as a pretty cool game right here for Astrea is turning out to be a bit of a disaster. Especially if he ends up losing this Nexus here. I don't think I like it all too much. I mean, sure, he's going to be able to defend, but at what cost? Well, he still has the same amount of workers. So that's kind of interesting. 39 probes versus 37. He's now sitting here, I think he lost 1 Disruptor. He's sitting here with double Speed Prism, double Colossus over here, more Lings ready to go in for the counterattack. But do you really want to run your Zerglings into 2 Colossi? Honestly, it's just 2 Colossi now. There's definitely a chance that that would work out. Okay, Astrea, you're gonna have to deal massive amounts of damage with these Disruptor drops. It's very difficult for Zerg to actually chase these units down, but that's a start, getting a bit of damage in. Zergling over here working wherever it can. I'm surprised that these Lings have been as passive as they have been. Couple Zealots in front, honestly, pretty good. You just need something here, right? You just need something here to... Did he just get an additional kill, or group of kills just now? I think he must have. Anyways, you just need something to buffer for the Colossi. Yeah, no, as long as there's Lings chasing this around... Oh, well. The Disruptor should be halted for the most part. I say that. They've already got a good bit of damage done, though. 14 drones here in total, and it's not done yet. Mutas are coming out. We're going for a bit more of a reliable answer against this Prism shenanigans. He wants to get a juicy hit. Yeah, he wants it really bad, but there's no way those Zerglings are gonna go down. It's time for the Prisms to go back home. Mutas are fast, but the Prism... Oh, he's gonna go for the full-on counterattack? I thought we were gonna shut down the Prisms first, for sure. No, we are gonna try and shut down the Prism. In the meantime, though, Astrea is making himself up for a full-on assault right now. He's essentially turned this into like a 2-base all-in. He never made a third. The Prism, okay, number 2 is also gonna go down. We have a couple of hallucinated Archons here underneath to just try and soak up as much damage as possible. No anti-air available anymore here for the Protoss player, but these big heavy hitters are still gonna take a while before they go down. Do we recall? I feel like we recall. Yeah, okay. Loses 1 Colossus. The hallucinated Archons still pretending to be real Archons. The Pinocchios of the Protoss army here. I'm a real Protoss. My best Pinocchio impression. Don't think it was very good. Anyhow, Astrea tried pulling a rabbit out of a hat, but in the end, it's Dark who obtains the victory. Next up, Dragon Scales. I've fast-forwarded through the first couple minutes of the game. Dark wanted to go for a hatchery first on the low ground, was forced to take the third base because he's not a fan of the Eric opener, it seems. And Astrea, of course, he sent that probe super early on, harassed the mineral line of the Zerg for a little bit, and then stole 5 minerals. Can you believe it? Absolute thief over here, trying to be a jerk. What is the tech going to be? Are we gonna cancel the Warp Gate research? No, we're not. We're gonna go straight into the Twilight Council. Okay. So this is gonna be pretty interesting. I'm assuming this will be glaives, but Astrea is a man of many build orders. I think actually if you go Glaives, you usually do go for double Adept at the very least. Maybe we're gonna go for a Stalker, then into an Adept. Anyways, the Probe. It's walking a couple of Zerglings. You'll love to see it. Probes definitely can handle the responsibility. No scout in the main base here so far. Stalker's gonna pop as well. Yep. And this means that Dark is in the dark. So funny. Smash like and subscribe. No. He doesn't know. This is a bit of a problem. We haven't actually gone for any tech choice yet, though. So, I mean, we've got the Twilight Council, we've got the Robo Facility, but we... okay. We don't have any upgrades going yet. I thought it was going to be Glaive Adepts, but instead, Astrea, apparently sick and tired of playing Stargate units, decides to go for a Dark Shrine right now. What are we... okay, we recalled the one Adept on the other side, or in the middle of the map, yeah. This is Dark we're talking about. There's not supposed to be this many Zerglings out at this point in the game. And you can see this reflected right now in the work account. Zerg is supposed to be matching this right now. So even though he got the Stalker, even though he, you know, forced the gateway that's now cancelled, I don't think this is actually worthwhile. Now, he's going to be forcing once again, though, a reroll. He's going to be able to get the Adept. That's actually kind of nice. Another Adept does pop here eventually. Alright. So normally, you'd expect an Oracle to fly across the map at this point in the game, right? There should already be one out. Normally, this third base is taken at about 350, 340 or so. Now, Dark sees the Prism. So, all things considered, since this is not a Stargate opener, this third Nexus is still very quick. Spore Crawlers are coming up right now, so this is a perfect timing against Dark Templar. There's no lair or anything like that, so Dark, he cannot go for an Overseer. So even though he didn't really know exactly what he was playing against, he does have the counter here, so perfect timing. I mean, he didn't know what he was playing against, but he did know the timing at which he needed detection. Because, of course, a lot of Zerglings were produced as well, by the way. They're going in for the counterattack. I really like that from Dark. Other Zerg players don't really do that. They prioritize defending at home, but it seems like Dark's very best defense is sending his units towards the other side of the map and trying to kill the opponent. I don't think the Nexus is gonna go down, though. Yeah, exactly. Dark Templar can be used offensively, but are obviously really good as well defensively, so... As long as the Nexus lives, this is okay. There's a lot more links here for Dark, though. I mean, when you make this many Dark, or this many Zerglings, you kind of hope that you can kill the Nexus at the very least. Yeah. There's an invisible man. He's only got 3 kills so far, but he's ready to add on even more. We're doing a little bit of creep clearing right now as well. You can obviously put a Dark Templar in the wall off as well, at which point, well, those links, they're just gonna... They could kill the structures, I suppose, but they're just gonna run to their deaths. Normally, DTs are played in conjunction with an Archon follow-up. Sorry about that, buddy. You missed the plane. Drone accidentally sent across the map. Okay. A bit of a misrally right there from the Zerg. Another Ling Wave. Yeah, these are starting to look more and more desperate. We have a single Archon coming up. Now, Archons would be amazing at defending Zerglings too. A couple of probes are going down here. It must be really annoying, though, to play against Dark, because he just seems to whip out a random amount of Zerglings every game. Sometimes he goes for the conventional amount, but very frequently he just makes a bunch of Zerglings. And it looks kind of arbitrary, and it definitely cuts into his economy. But his drone timings, yeah, they're a little bit different than the other top-level Zergs. 7 Overlords, by the way, coming up. He already has 122 supply. That's a big mistake right there from Dark. Dark making about 1,000 minerals worth of Overlords too many. Now, it's one way to drop your supply count, and if you're gonna go for a roach all-in, maybe it's not a big deal, but if you still plan on making drones, you've definitely slowed yourself down. Yeah, he does add on more drones. I was gonna say, I don't think he can really go for an all-in here. Although, I've been watching a lot of Eric's games, too. Eric seems to think otherwise. 42 drones? Time to make 4 gases. Let's get it all going. Prism, by the way, decides to nope out of there. You always have the option of just taking a bunch of gases and making 100 Ravagers, right? Ravagers are, well, a pretty darn good unit. Dark not gonna go for something that aggressive, but he does have Overlords for the remainder of the game, it seems. Yeah, this is a bit of a sloppy mistake. Imagine a Terran suddenly firing up 9 supply depots. Like, it just seems dumb, right? As Zerg, you can accidentally start them because it's so easy to make OVs. But yeah, Terran definitely cannot afford making that many. And honestly, Zerg can't afford making that many either. It cuts into the amount of units that he's got right now. Okay. Looks like Astrea, because of all those Zerglings he's seen, he's playing this a little bit cautiously. Going for another Archon drop, it seems. So apparently today is War Prism Day. Baneling Nest coming up. More Disruptor play. Also on the production tab. 4th Nexus here. Excellent Scout once again coming in by Dark. Dark's very good when it comes to that. Yeah. He's good at controlling the opponent. But the problem you run into is that if you play against guys like, for example, Astrea, that know exactly what to do in those scenarios, it seems to me that most of the time Protoss does get an advantage. So even though this doesn't really look like an advantage here in the supply count, I actually like this position here for Astrea quite a bit. His eventual army is gonna be massive, and it's gonna be significantly higher tech than Dark's as well. So unless Dark strikes soon, I think he's gonna be in some trouble. There's no Baneling, well, there's a Baneling Nest, but no... Oh, okay. We're gonna already morph in Banelings without Baneling speed? Centrifugal hooks just started up. If Dark wants to go for an all-out assault, I'm afraid that Banelings are gonna run to their deaths against a bunch of Disruptors. There's 3 Disruptors available right now. Astrea is incredibly good at controlling that. He always has those Archons too. This fight over here is do or die by Dark, I think. Unless he decides to go home right now, but I also don't really like that position for him very much. Okay, does snipe the Observer, so that's a start. Couple probes are going down right here, okay. Apparently we were forced to pull all of those workers away. The Banelings must have tried. Blink is gonna finish up. Yeah, with Centrifugal Hooks, with the Baneling speed upgrade, those attacks become quite a bit scarier, but you can see that even though Dark was significantly ahead in the supply count earlier, it's closing. It's closing. He's maxed out right now on a early-ish, mid-game-ish type of army. Whereas Astrea has got himself definitely some higher tier units. +3 is already coming up here too for the Protoss from America. Okay. Yeah, so Astrea is a really flexible player, right? That's what impresses me the most. Like when he first came up, he was playing all these very cheeky builds, those Astrea strategies. And he still mixes that in too. He likes being the aggressor, but he's solid in the macro game too. So I think he's reading this really cleverly. Big Protoss defense needed here though. Zerg is ready to come in. Banelings once again hunting for the mineral line. This time around they do have their little roly-poly upgrade. Probes are probably gonna go down. Battery overcharge used in the natural. I mean, this is very expensive though here for our Zerg player. Losing only 6 probes so far. Maybe these Banelings, a Hail Mary play here, yeah. No, 7 Banes for like what? 7 probes for like what? 17 Banes? I don't think 58 Banelings has gone down in total here. I don't think that is worth it here. Okay. More Banelings coming up. Dark on a similar economy as Astrea. Astrea reading this game really well. Just defending. Trying to create a maxed out army, and I think we'll see him move shortly. He's making as many Archons as he can. Archons are fantastic against this Zerg army. I wouldn't mind seeing maybe a few Immortals mixed in or something along those lines, but apparently that's not the priority. Charge is done right now. +3 is going to finish up very soon as well. If Astrea can take a fight against Zerg off creep, I think that's exactly what he's looking for. Okay. Melee level 2 though, finishing up as well for Zerg. That makes those Banelings so much more terrifying. Good Disruptor hits here. Another big one on that ramp. Astrea trying to control the pacing of this fight. Keep in mind, that was only a small chunk of the Protoss army. +2 is enough to start one-shotting probes, but indeed, yeah. The Blink Stalkers once again in position. Astrea, man. He's actually a world-class player now. I mean, he's always been really good. But he's been impressing me a lot over the last half year or so. Still improving. Obviously, he's been very strong in the North American scene for, well, several years now. But to go toe-to-toe with the Koreans and the top-level Europeans, generally speaking, it's a bit of a different skill level. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. It's just that there's more competitive players in the European scene and in the Korean scene than there are in the American one. Especially now that Neep decided to retire from the game. It's basically just Astrea and Scarlet, right? And, I mean, there's still some really good players, obviously, in Latin America too, but they're also not quite at the skill level of the Koreans. I would actually say Astrea is definitely the #1 from the Americas now. Anyways, big storms over here. Massive storms. Oh! He needs to weather the storm, though, because the rest of the Protoss army is way off the beaten path. Okay, they have to engage this from the side right now. This is the first time, though, that Astrea decides to make an aggressive blink forward. More and more Banelings rolling on in. Dark. Okay, yeah, no, this is what he was looking for this entire time. Protoss, of course, always on a razor's edge. It's really easy to accidentally mess up. But now Dark has, well, poked the bear one too many times. I think it's time for Astrea to go for an attack. And this is a scary fight. This is not a unit composition, the one from Dark, that is good against the one that Astrea has produced. Look at the army right here from our Protoss. The supply count was heavily in favor of the Zerg before this fight began. But Astrea very calmly deflects as many of the punches as possible, and he obtains the victory. And that means it's all gonna come down to this game right here on a Royal Blood. Double Overlord Scout, this time around from Dark. Again, I thought we all decided that this is inferior. But Dark apparently is just gonna send 2 Overlords at the start of the game straight across the map. We want to see exactly what the Protoss is doing. So this time around, it will be a Stargate opener, yeah? Honestly, if you already... Stargate is still the best opener in this matchup. If you see 2 OVs at this point in the game, I think you should most definitely make at least a single Phoenix, right? Maybe even a Void Ray. I mean, that's 2 free Overlord kills, and I don't think any Protoss has ever really complained about, you know, being forced to make either a Phoenix or a Void Ray. Maybe it's not the ideal unit, but I think it'll be pretty darn good. Anyhow, we'll have to see exactly what units he decides to produce out of that Stargate here in just a moment. Are we going to commit with the Adept? We will. Just trying to be a little bit annoying. The Shade will come off cooldown again very soon. This is just Astrea trying to grab whatever you can. Yeah, it is going to be a Phoenix first. I would not be able to withstand the temptation either, man. 2 OVs? Actually very annoying for the Zerg. Chrono boosting it out. Are we gonna go mass Phoenix now? Are you gonna get baited? No, he's gonna just go for a single Phoenix into an Oracle, into a bit of a supply block. Eventually the Oracle does start. Okay, the question is, will he be able to catch that other Overlord that's currently retreating in the slowest possible way? Holding on to the 3rd Nexus is kind of difficult here, but Dark, once again, with an arbitrary amount of Zerglings. Apparently this time around, the magic number he landed on is 8. He doesn't have enough. He does not have enough to kill those 2, well, tucked away Adepts right there. Hold position as well. I love the hold position on the probe there. Just trying to reduce as much of the service area as possible. Second OV here on the right side of the map does get spotted. Alright. This does, of course, give the Zerg a little bit more time to prepare against the Oracle Assault. Dark going for about a 4-minute Roach Warn here, which is kind of early. Could just be Dark being Dark, though. Okay, we're gonna settle for the Larva kills. Yeah. When you don't see anything at the 3rd base, you know that the Queens are gonna be hanging out in other locations. Getting any damage done at that point in the natural would be very difficult. So we have 3 gases already here for Dark. He's gonna saturate them now. 4 Overlords finishing up, even though he's not supply blocked. Yeah, I think we're gonna go, okay, for a bit of a Queen push. So I think this is him baiting out this particular opener here from Astrea by scouting. Okay, well, that's a little bit cheeky. Losing one of the Queens there does kind of suck. Brenda way off creep. But I think he purposely tried to push into this attack right here by going for the double Overlord Scout. It's a Dark Templar transition once again here for Astrea, but those units are still gonna be a while away. Yeah. He probably hoped that Astrea would transition towards multiple Phoenixes. I think this is probably an auto win against multiple Phoenix builds. We've got a couple Ravagers here. We've got a lot of Zerglings. Dark just going for an all-out Queen March. When's the last time you've seen a Queen March? Actually insane. Okay. Good re-walling right there in the natural. Third in a little bit of trouble. Wouldn't mind these probes. Okay, well, I was thinking recall, but instead we're gonna overcharge the battery. I feel like an overcharge here of the battery in the natural might be a little bit more worthwhile. At least the probes do win the battle against the Lings. They're just gonna continue mining. The Queens can't really reposition themselves very easily. Obviously, they can't transfuse anymore off creep either. And Astrea is buying a ton of time. But you look at that. The Dark Shrine is done. We don't have a lot of gateways, but we've got enough. More and more invisible men are being warped in, and now Dark spots the little blur. Obviously, this is a hatchery-based attack, right? We don't have a lair, we don't have any mobile detection. So now, I guess Dark is just gonna try and sacrifice these units and deal as much damage as possible. At the very least, the Zerglings and the Queens, they just need to maximize the damage that they can deal. Probably want to save these Ravagers, though. Will the third Nexus go down? It's gonna be very close. Nah, it will go down. Yep. Oh! Wait. I'm gonna have to go back. Was battery overcharge available again, or did he just... No. Okay, so it was still on cooldown. Okay, so if he would have done battery overcharge and retargeted to the Nexus, he would have been okay. But yeah, you can see right here, he must have just finished it. Yeah, okay, no, he started it up as quickly as he could have. I thought for a second he was sitting on that ability for, well, a couple seconds there, but not quite the case. Okay, so that's unfortunate for Astrea. Double lair, by the way, here, coming up for Dark. Well, he just canceled one of the two. I was gonna say, that would be a little bit aggressive. If that third Nexus would have survived, this would have been amazing right here for Astrea. Not quite the case, though. Robo Bay, once again on the back of this. Interesting how Stargate openers are slowly losing popularity. Even though they're still really dang good. Look at this. 6 drones going down just like that. Yeah, they're slowly losing popularity. A Void Ray even coming up. Okay. It seems that Disruptors and Archons and Dark Templar builds are just... yeah, maybe a little bit more fun to play. That's another thing that you have to keep in mind, right? These guys, they're playing this game every day. Playing what is the most quote-unquote optimal style is also a bit boring, right? So maybe that's also one of the reasons why we see Dark making a seemingly arbitrary amount of stuff in these weekly tournaments. But then as soon as he's at the GSL Codes, he seems to play a lot more rigidly. Like when he's playing the premier events, he looks like a different kind of Dark. This kind of seems like the latter edition of Dark, you know? Maybe it's 100 MMR lower than the most optimal way to play, but it's a ton more fun. At the same time, you are a bit of a wild card, especially if you then do play offline events, because players are probably going to get used to what you normally do, and, well, if they normally play you on the ladder, they might be used against a different... yeah, there's definitely an argument to be made for that, too. And the same can be said for Astrea. I'm sure he's finding a lot of success with those straight Oracle openers into a couple adept to harass, but doing the same thing over and over and over again for your job is maybe not the most fun way to play. Plus, you don't really improve that much as a player, right? I mean, there's a maximum amount of times you can practice that build, is what I'm saying. You probably still want to do it at least 1 in 3 games, but yeah, doing it every single time, maybe not the most enjoyable way to play it. I mean, playing a video game for fun and not having fun, or for a job and, you know, not having it, that would be kind of dumb too. The Changeling over here does scout the 4th Nexus, going down at a very forward location, which is kind of fun. Normally we see it tucked away over here. Dark going for a Hydra transition now, though. Okay. So Grooved Spines, Muscular Augments, both of the upgrades are coming up. Hydra is usually not very helpful until both of those upgrades are going to finish, but Astrea does not look like he wants to attack here anytime soon. Is Astrea really ready, though, to play against somebody who's going to have, well, very high damage output coming out of those Hydralisks? Hydra's by no means the best Zerg unit, but they're pretty darn good. Especially if the opponent doesn't realize how many you've got. When they have their muscular augments upgrade done, they're so quick as well with the new patch. Okay. Love this. A couple stasis wards here on the right side of the map. This is something Protosses have gotten a lot better at over the last, I want to say, half year or so. I feel like the stasis ward positioning and making sure these are always up, I feel like this has gotten a whole lot stronger. Maybe it's also that Protosses are just better at keeping the oracles around. Other than Hero, most people would just lose their oracles at some point. Did that Void Ray, by the way, ever come? No, I think he must have cancelled it. I was gonna say, there was a Void Ray on the production tab earlier, but... Okay. Lurker Den coming up. Hive coming up. Second Evo Chamber also coming up. So Dark, not just sticking around on Roach Hydra with some Lings and Ravagers for support. Instead, we're making a transition towards a slower game. Astrea going for a very quick 5th Nexus, considering the timing of the 4th. Definitely needs to transition that assimilator, or fill in that assimilator there. My god, look at this army. It's basically just a bunch of glowy balls over here, man. Maximum power. Needs to be careful, though. He's getting into a pretty aggressive spot. I actually thought this was mostly just to open the door for the Zealot run by, and the Adepts over here, yeah. Okay, I think it was a little bit overly aggressive, trying to bait the opponent into the stasis. Luckily there for Dark, he did lead that with a couple roaches. So that worked out quite decently well for him there, but that could have been an absolute disaster if half of that Zerg army got caught in the stasis. Adepts shading forward. These are units that kind of lose their... Well, I don't want to be a jerk to them, but they're not very helpful anymore later on into the game, so... Any efficient traits at this point are welcome, and he actually ends up killing a good amount of stuff. I'm gonna back off here for a second. I actually did not think we were gonna see Astrea once again moving forward this aggressively. So we're about 10 seconds back, and this is what we saw the tail end off. There we go. Big chunk of the Zerg ball going down. Man, this is such a glowy army, though. That's a lot of Archons. Problem is, right now, though, for the Protoss... Yeah, immediately upon seeing the Lurkers, he decides to go into the Fleet Beacon together with the Stargate. Astrea, not really a huge fan, it seems, of playing that late-game Skytoss-based army, but in these scenarios, it is just simply your best choice. Zergling counterattack. Very quick warp in here for Astrea, should be okay. Okay, he's actually adding on a new Oracle, which is interesting. I wonder if that means he wants to go into Tempest. It's an option, but also a bit of a dangerous one. +1 flyer starting up here. +1 air weapons. Okay, what are we gonna produce? It's a carrier. Okay. I thought the Oracle was maybe here to use Revelation, but okay. A little bit of a Prism warp in over here. A bit overly ambitious. Don't think this Prism is gonna survive this either. But at the same time, we do have a big push happening here at the front. The front of the 4th base, anyways. Okay. Vipers are added into the mix too. So Dark can start abducting these units. Yep, pretty easily. And as soon as those units hit the battlefield, I think it's really difficult for Protoss to continue harassing this. He can try, but... there's a good chance you end up losing your very expensive Protoss units for essentially free. He sees the Vipers right now. Are we gonna abduct? Yeah, we are gonna abduct a few of the Disruptors. Okay. At the very least, most of them still exploded, if not all of them still exploded. So a couple of the Lurkers did go down. But I think this will be enough to right now, yeah, force this Protoss army to go back home. Psionic Storm coming up. Shield upgrades, finishing here. Carriers are hitting the battlefield. At this point, the only source of anti-air for Zerg is gonna be Spore Crawlers and the Hydra. Actually, we have no Queens remaining. 0 Queens! That is very funny. This kind of looks like a Brood War game now, right? Just no Queens anymore. Just using the larva that all of those hatcheries are automatically generating. It's at a much slower pace, but... he's got a high-tier army right now. He's not really planning on making 100 Zerglings at once. So unless you're playing Ling Bane, you don't really need that many, well, Queens either. There's the double Spire coming up. He's not adding on any more queens. That actually really does surprise me a bit. Yeah. So he pushed with queens at the start of this game. Oh, ooh, one Viper almost fell. He did a queen push at the start of the game, and then decided later on, yep, I don't need any queens anymore. A queenless late game. Does Dark realize, though, the amount of carriers that are out already? I don't think I've had them on the camera yet. But they're hitting the battlefield. And this is a very scary Protoss army here. 4 carriers at a time. We have 4 upgrades researching at the time as well. We've got High Templar with Storm. We've got Disruptors. We've got Archons. This is... Oh, there's a queen coming up. Amazing. This is an incredible Protoss army that's in the making right now. We're still a couple minutes away from it being maxed out. But once it's done, it's going to be very difficult for Dark to face off against it. He's going to have to be on point with his Spore Crawlers, with his Hydras, preferably Corruptors, Vipers, Infestors. Not an easy unit comp to play against. Both players now on 5 base economy. There is definitely an argument to be made, though, that it's much more difficult right now for Astrea to expand from this position. So he's got a good amount of bases. But yeah, taking this expansion is the logical next one, but it's also very vulnerable. It kind of feels like it's far out there. Dark doing the same thing right now in the bottom right-hand corner. He doesn't have any creep over here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he made that, yeah, that queen primarily just for the creep tumors. Well, Brenda's dead. The queen is dead. Long live the queen. Are we gonna make a new one? I'm not sure. He's actually pushing into this. Okay, yeah, no, he wants to see what the anti-air situation is right now of our Zerg. Interceptors do cost 15 minerals each. So 28 of them just went down. There's an abduction. Good storm as well, though. Killing a couple of the Hydras. 13 Corruptors right now on the back of this. So Dark more than happy to trade out those Hydras and replace them with better, higher tier units here to actually deal with those carriers. The Archons here are key too, though. The Archons are here to get rid of all of the, well, hopefully High Templar and the Archons. Or, sorry, the Lurkers are key here. Well, the Archons are key as well. To make sure that the Corruptors don't just fly over all of those carriers. Then suddenly you can do a parasitic bomb and fly all of the Corruptors into the carriers, killing the interceptor ships very quickly. But the Archons prevent what is called the Loko maneuver. Sorry, I didn't want to flex, but that's what the Archons are here for. That's what the pro gamers call it. It's not even a maneuver I came up with, but I will gladly take full credit. Mostly because I am apparently, yeah, in need of attention. Please give me attention. Ooh, the Stormy boys lining up against the railing here. Ready to throw some Sonic Storms on top of all of those clumped up Corruptors. Are they gonna do it? I think they should. Okay. Snatch one of those carriers out of the sky, but that's about it. Greater Spire coming up right now here for Dark. Double Cybercore. Trying his very best to get as much research done as possible. No Cybercore at the front, by the way, this game. Stasis wards being set up too. Okay. Top level Zerg seem to be very good in these scenarios. I don't really like the Spore Crawler situation though. We have quote unquote only 21, but only a handful of them are here at the front. I think that this base is gonna go down. There it is. In the meantime, we've got a couple of Zealots, 4 of them in the bottom right hand corner trying to be a nuisance. Stasis wards being set up too. Excellent movement right here by Astrea though. And in the meantime, we haven't seen any harassment at all in the top left-hand corner. That seems to be what like the Raynors and the Serals of this world would be doing right now. They'd probably be sending a hit squad of Zerglings and Lurkers towards the top left. Well, there was an attempt at the very least of something similar to that, but not really happening. This hatchery, also not really happening, I don't think. A preventive storm there, trying to keep those units at bay. Dark doesn't have a lot of money anymore. Nope. Astrea even going for the golden minerals here. Beautifully controlling the movement here of the opponent, though. Really lovely work. He still needs to deal with the main army here of the Zerg. And that's gonna be very difficult. But he can remax. And Dark does not have that luxury. Okay. Let's not get the full connection. Army values right there in the top left-hand corner. You compare the amount of money they both have in the bank. It becomes very apparent that Astrea can remake. But Dark doesn't really have that option. Yeah, the Spore Crawlers are being super annoying here. Okay, this hatchery should really be killed. Astrea doesn't actually see it. Okay, now he notices. Wasn't within his vision until just now. So that one definitely is not going to happen. More High Templar being added into the mix. Yeah, this aggressive movement here from Astrea is making it difficult for the Zerg to go in for a counterattack. There's the Corruptors, by the way, mispositioned for a little bit. Looks like they managed to fly over at least one of those Archons, and they probably ate a storm to the face as well. It's gonna take a long time for those Corruptors to actually regen their HP. There's no gargoyle mode or whatever in StarCraft 2, right? Like you have, I think it's Warcraft 3? They sit on the floor. Okay, nice. That would be sick, man. They just sit on the floor regenning for a bit. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, these Corruptors are not gonna really be that useful for a long time. Lovely little Zealot movement here once again. I think Astrea is ready to start taking the fight to the main army, to be honest. He also knows he really softened up a lot of those heavy hitters from the Zerg. So if he can deploy all of his interceptors, get a couple storms in. I don't know why the Archons are that far back. Can we bring the Archons a little further? I guess he's scared right here of all of those lurkers. He just right-clicked down the hatchery itself, by the way. Okay. You get to control this area of the map. This is your new life now. You're an overseer of the creep spread. Enjoy. Yeah, for some reason this guy is not part of a control group. Dark Templar Blink coming up as well. Warp Prism speed. We already had Observer speed. I mean, Astrea at this point is shopping. He's at the mall. He's been given an unlimited credit card. He's just pointing at things that he wants and he's getting it. The golden minerals being mined in the most obnoxious way possible. For some reason, when you right-click probes or drones or SCVs on this particular mineral line, they derp out a little bit and some of them mine from the back. Okay, well, at least this little Zergling run by. This is the first time we've seen the Zerg dealing any damage in ages. Maybe it can help Astrea. Oh, correct that. Big storms going down once again. Dark in this final game simply got outplayed by the American Protoss. And it's Astrea who indeed obtains the victory 2-1.